unit cancellation. So this is an idea about setting up these problems where we need to like convert from one unit to another using usually a lot of fractions and canceling the units just like they're variables to kind of double check our thinking. Because if you just start trying to do it, you're like, okay, am I supposed to multiply here or divide here? I'll do them both and see which number looks better. And this is a strategy for actually being sure whether to multiply or divide and kind of keep your thinking organized as the problems get more complicated, rather than just trying each of the operations and picking the answer that seems best, or using some sort of informal rule of thumb strategy. So we're going to look at a specific question here. A certain middle school has 47-minute periods each school day. How many hours do they spend in each class during a typical week? So we've got a bunch of different units here. We've got minutes, we've got days, we've got weeks, and we've got hours. So we've got a lot of converting to do because we start out knowing minutes per day and we end up needing to know hours per week. Per is a word that doesn't appear in this problem, and yet I immediately started using it when I was trying to make sense of this problem. And it's a very helpful word because per basically means divided by. This many hours per day means each day it's that many hours. So if I knew that it's a way of kind of, it's a helper word to know that it's going to be a division situation. It's kind of like how miles per hour is miles divided per hour. So I start out with the information that there are 47 minutes, which I will abbreviate as mins, over one day. And the first thing I want to do is convert that into weeks. And so what I need to do is multiply this by a special form of 1 that'll cancel the unit I'm not interested in, day, and leave the unit I am interested in, week. So I know that my new fraction needs to have the relationship of the same amount of days in a week and weeks in a day, so that it's balanced, that both the top and the bottom are saying the same thing using different units. And that I know day needs to be on the top because I'm going to use it to make a 1 with that day on the bottom. So that means week is going to be on the bottom. I want to know about 1 week, so I should just write how many days are in a week. And since this problem is specifically about a school and classes, I'm going to use my special knowledge of how school works and know that I'm talking about a 5-day week because I'm talking about like a school week or a work week. If I was talking about a calendar week, it would be a 7-day week. And this is me using outside real-world knowledge to decide what kind of conversion to use here, that I need a 5-day week rather than a 7-day week. So that's something to think about whenever you're solving a problem with days and weeks. Are we talking about just work days, or are we talking about calendar weeks? So now I've got something set up where I know when I'm done doing my multiplication, this day and this day are going to cancel. So I have 47 times 5 times minutes times day. And because multiplication is commutative, I could rewrite them in this order. I put the numbers at the beginning and the units at the end because it makes it easier for me to see what's going on. And since everything in this is multiplication, it's fine to do that commutative stuff. It would not work if there were a bunch of addition in the middle there, because then we'd have to think about what we were doing a little harder. So now we've got 1 times day times, I guess that could be another 1 there if I wanted. So 1 times day times week. I normally wouldn't put the 1s, but I want to be really clear. There's 5 days in 1 week. And that's just to kind of show this a little more clearly. So now I can make a 1 here, because day divided by day would be 1, because anything divided by itself would be 1. So I have 47 times 5, which is a great question for a calculator. Most of us do not have our 47 times tables memorized. And in this class, I expect that you have a calculator and you can use it for these kinds of questions. So that's 235. 235 minutes. 1 times 1 is 1. You'll notice I did not get out my calculator for that. Times 1 week. So now I have this as minutes per week. They spend 235 minutes per week in this class. So now I know that. Am I done? I'm not, because I need to know how many hours they spend in each class during a typical week. So not a week when there's an assembly, not a week when there's a day off school, not a week when there's a snow day, a typical 5-day school week. But the part I'm missing right now is hours. So just like I set up this converter to convert from days to weeks, I'm going to need to set up one with minutes and hours. And since minutes is on the top here, I'm going to put minutes on the bottom here and hours on the top here, because I want this minutes and this minutes to make a 1. So I need to have hours and minutes on the top. And so then the only thing I can multiply an expression like this by is 1. So just like this is 1, because there are 5 days in 1 week, so this is 1. They're equivalents, the same thing. There's same thing on the top, same thing on the bottom. They're the same amount of time. I need to write the amount of hours and minutes that are the same amount of time as each other. There is 1 hour and 60 minutes are the same amount of time. They're measuring exactly the same thing in different units, so it's 1. If I have 1 hour and I divide it by 60 minutes, I get 1. So this is just a fancy form of 1, and I'm allowed to do that. So now I can do my multiplication again. I have 235 times 1 times minutes times hours over 1 times week time. Oh, I forgot to put the 60 over here. I'm put it over here. 60 times 1 times week times minutes. And now I can make a 1 here. Minutes divided by minutes would be 1. And then I can simplify this a little more. I'd have 235 times 1 doesn't change it, hours. There can't possibly be 235 hours of class in a week. That seems really weird. Let's see why that's happening. Oh, divided by 60 times 1 times week. So that means I have hours per week as my unit now, which is the unit I want. I want to know how many hours per week. So now I need to do this division, which once again is a fabulous question for a calculator. Because we assume you have calculators, we can ask you more interesting questions. I would not expect you to sit here and do long division with this kind of problem. Many of you could, but it's not a great use of your time in an algebra class to do that. So I just put in this question into my calculator. I find out, oh, it's kind of an ugly number, but that's okay, I can deal with it. It is 3.916 repeating hours per week. And I might kind of shorthand that to about 4 hours per week, depending on what information I actually needed. So this is a process to keep yourself organized and keep track of when do I multiply, when do I divide, what units am I working in right at this minute. And a lot of it is just about finding ones. How can I make that unit go away by rewriting it as a 1? You know, how can I multiply it by something that's equal to 1, because these things are the same, so it's 1, and then divide out the unit I don't want.